Welcome to another episode of the S.A.G.E Holistic Show. My name is Emily Sellis and I am your host. Today I'm excited to share with all of you our very first S.A.G.E chat, where you get to join the S.A.G.E family and hear what we're chatting about today. Have a listen.
S.A.G.E is a 501c3 nonprofit organization building community by providing education and counseling about physical, mental, and spiritual well-being. We encourage all of our listeners to find their own path to what holistic wellness means to you.
Hello, ladies. It's so nice to have everyone together, even though we're not in person.
Hi.
Hi.
Hello. So I'm going to let all of you introduce yourselves real quick, just so everyone knows who the S.A.G.E family is. I will start. My name is Emily Sellis. I'm the founder of S.A.G.E. I'm also one of the therapists here.
We are live.
And I just so excited to introduce you guys to our team. So pop in there and say who you are and what you do at S.A.G.E.
I'll go. Hi, I'm Leona Huseman. I am an associate MFT at S.A.G.E Wellness Center. I work with individuals, just maneuvering through the process of healing through individual therapy sessions. And we are strictly telehealth right now. So we're all doing the virtual thing and it's working. And I think it's phenomenal. And I'm loving it. So I'm choosing to connect this way and it feels good.
And healing. I love how you brought that word in. Yes, that's what we're going to talk about today. So, all right.
I'll go next.
Sorry.
No, go ahead. So my name is Renee Lorch, and I am an associate marriage and family therapist, and I am also a Reiki 2 practitioner. And the population that I really love working with is older adults, specifically those affected by Alzheimer's, dementia, Parkinson's, and that includes the individual as well as the family or the caregivers. And it actually has been really cool to move to a virtual platform because a lot of my clients aren't driving, and so it's been really convenient, and I am really loving this platform. And as a Reiki practitioner, although most people think of Reiki as an in-person session, we also do distance Reiki. So it's definitely something that I'm excited that I've been able to do lately.
I love that. And we're going to have to do a different chat just about Reiki. That would be so fun. We have an episode dropping this weekend about Reiki to get people more info about that. But everyone together. So please, Crystal, hop in there. I know you were going to introduce yourself too.
Hi, my name is Crystal Springy, and I am the nutritional therapy and Reiki level 2 practitioner at S.A.G.E. And I really like to use both to kind of balance out the mind and body. And I specialize in digestion and then also autoimmune disease and mental health.
Awesome.
All right, I'll go next. I'm Saraf Shalchian. I am also an associate marriage and family therapist at S.A.G.E. And it's so awesome to do this with our S.A.G.E family. So, I focus my work on I focus my work on individual and couples therapy, and I work a lot with depression, anxiety, a lot of trauma, childhood and adult attachment wounds, and a lot of work with that inner transformation, basically people who want to thrive in life through their life transitions like breakups or divorce or any career change or even the pandemic. So I'm additionally also trained in EMDR and certified in CBT. If you guys need to learn more about EMDR, I actually did post a blog and a video on the S.A.G.E website, so you can go ahead and look at that. And these are basically, and I'm certified in CBT, which both of those are one of the most effective psychotherapies for different types of traumas, childhood or adult attachment wounds, and anxiety and depression. And I'm also actually just got additionally trained to work with clients who are or have been affected by being in relationships with people who suffer from personality disorders like narcissistic personality disorder. And I just have such a heart for that population. So yeah, that's a bit about me.
I'm so glad you guys could take just a second to introduce for those of you guys who don't know him. I always just love being together with all of you. I feel like we have such a cohesive team. And today what we wanted to talk about, and I want you guys to just jump in there like we do when we're all together in person, to just talk about like what healing really is. And when people are trying to work on what healing is, like what does that even look like, whether it's even in our own lives or in what we do in the work of helping other people heal. Introduce for those of you guys who don't know him. I always just love being. So I know we're getting a little feedback there. I'm not sure where that's coming from, but we're learning all this stuff too as we go. We're all good.
Yeah.
So yeah, what do you guys, how would you even define that? I mean, how do we define that term, healing? Like what does that mean to each of you?
I think, I mean, it's an exploration, I think, for the rest of your life. It's something that I think a lot of us don't really pay attention to, like the word healing or have we healed. I think even when we're in our younger age, you know, in our 20s or even like our teens, I think the idea of healing is something that comes later. And maybe it does. Maybe it's that time of life where, you know, maybe approaching 30, the whole Saturn's return, we start to internalize and feel differently. You know, life shift changes occur, and it's something that I feel like kind of stops us in our tracks. And when we have that moment, it's a moment that we get to decide, are we going to pay attention to this nudging that's happening, or are we going to stay on the same path that we're on and we just keep like forging through life? So for me, I think I felt that in my
Saturn's return.
early 30s, and it took me a while. Like I was fighting that urge, and I finally took that path. And you know, healing is something that's individualized. It's something that is for you, and it looks different on everyone. And that's something that I would love, that I always encourage my clients to embrace, that healing doesn't look a certain way. I think we have ideas of what healing is. And I think many of us think, oh, we have to start meditating every day. We have to sit in silence. We need to have, you know, all these different experiences that make us feel uncomfortable. And I actually don't think that's true. I think healing is, most importantly, is awareness. It's awareness of what's not working for us. It's awareness of, you know, our certain actions or behaviors that are no longer serving our needs, our wants, and more importantly, the people that are in our life. And when we can start acknowledging that maybe some shifts and changes need to happen, I think that's the first step of healing, is just becoming aware and understanding that there are other options. There's other ways to go about life. And when you get that question asked, whether it's your intuition, it's your spirit guides, it's God, whoever it is that's nudging you and saying, hey, there's more life than what you're doing, or there's another path for you, is acknowledging it and saying, maybe even entertaining that there could be another path. And I think that's, for me, the start to healing. And then the path you take is just your path. And you're going to have to try different avenues, different modalities, but whatever it looks like, if it's working for you, I think that's healing.
I love that, Liana. And I am curious, just to kind of take that further, what do you think those nudges are like? Like, what are those nudges? And what does that mean? Or how do we discern, like, if that nudge is meant for us, or how to take that somewhere further?
I mean, I don't know. I'll jump back in.
No, really. I'm asking.
I was like waiting for somebody else. Like, oh yeah,
it's not rhetorical. No, I'm like, what are the nudges?
I'm like this nudging. Like, yeah, I'm totally nudging with you right now.
Getting the nudge. Like I just nudged you.
I think for myself, it's a higher power. It's something that is spiritual. And, you know, even that for me, I had an idea of what spirituality was growing up. Then it kind of didn't exist. And then I felt the nudge. And for me specifically, I thought, okay, this is something greater than me. It's bigger than me. I personally believe that it is a higher being, a higher power, even my like different energy vibrations. You know, we meet different people that affect us in different way. I think it could even be their energy. That's a nudge, right? It's something that's saying, hey, pay attention, right? I believe in that. Maybe it's my spirit guides, right? That whoever is with me is there to remind me that there's more. And I also think it's intuition. I think that we have a part of us that whether it's, you know, your inner child or it's your experiences, intuition plays a big part of, you know, how I make my decisions. And for a long time I was avoiding that and or ignoring it, saying like, I don't know what that is. But once I took the time to listen to those nudges and realize that, hey, there's maybe more to myself. There's a spiritual aspect, there's a physical aspect, there's a mental aspect. Bringing those all together is what's nudging me to move forward in a different direction and just guiding me, right? I can go back to spirit guides. There's something with me saying, hey, pay attention, you know, or this is familiar. Did you like this or did you not like this experience? Yeah, I think that's the best way to put it. I don't know if that's really an answer, but it's kind of what I believe.
I love it.
It's a good
I love
answer.
hearing that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I want to hear from you guys too. Like, what do you think are the nudges that get you on your path to healing? Because that's what I'm really hearing is like this idea of like, there's something that is moving us or guiding us is what I'm hearing you say. And then I think some of our listeners or some people out there might say, well, what are my nudges? Like, I don't even know what a nudge is or what is, did I miss that nudge? Like, I keep saying nudge and that word is sounding weird now. But
Nudge.
I mean, what are the nudges for you guys?
I think what Liana was talking about, the intuition, and that was the first thing that came to mind for me, because I feel like it took a really long time for me to trust my own intuition, because there is this kind of separation between like our ego, and it's like, well, you know, is this what we're supposed to be doing, or is this what is this just, you know, I always think of the ego as like the devil and the angel, and it's like, who's in control here? And I think that you know, when we take it to a more spiritual level, we learn more about intuition and really trusting ourselves and realizing that that's not maybe necessarily, it's like ourselves that we're talking, we know what is in our best, you know, best good for ourselves, but we're not sorry, I'm stumbling over my words, but we don't trust ourselves enough. So we've learned to ignore it and do what we think is right, not what we feel is like really kind of, you know, brewing for us. And
well said. Yeah.
A lot of times we, you know, our family members, we grow up in a certain way and we feel like we have to conform to those exact things, or our friends, we have to act a certain way. And when it doesn't feel right, I feel like those nudges that are what's coming in and saying, no, be authentic to you. And I think as, you know, human beings, we want to connect. And sometimes that, you know, we push that intuition aside because we want to conform and we want to fit in. So I've learned that intuition is, you don't mess with it, you listen to it and you just go with it.
I think what I wanted to share was definitely right in between what Renee and Liana were talking about. That healing. I don't think it's like a one-time thing. It's an exploration. It's a process.
Everyone together.
It's a process of making or becoming more of who you are. Again, I mean, I love that you said, like, not conforming to this world, not conforming to what the society tells us to become, who we're supposed to be, how we're supposed to dress, how we're supposed to act, how we're supposed to forgive, how we're supposed to love. I think healing is more of a process of restoring back into who we are at the very core and realigning with that spiritual self, or that higher self that isn't limited by what the world has basically told us to become, right? It's not limited by all those negative thoughts that we have picked up based on all these different hurts that each one of us have gone through, that's told us, for example, if we fell down as a kid and people told us get up and toughen up, that was a nudge right there to become less of our vulnerable self and more of this tough outer area, but on the inside we're really hurting, right? So I feel like healing is becoming more that vulnerable, true organism that we are, that human being,
Yeah.
that being that we are. And I think another nudge would be just surrendering the rest to a higher power, for it to work out the way we're meant to work out. So yeah.
I think it's like almost what you're saying is like letting things fall away to uncover like what's truly within.
Yeah, it's like that pruning, that refining, I think, your character to back to I think what we became conformed to, right, as being conformed to the world. So because we're all, I mean, just so different, uniquely just so beautiful. And I think healing goes back to expressing that unique beauty within ourselves and allowing that light within us to shine so that other people can also see that healing happening in us and other people being affected by it. We don't have to say who helped us, what approach helped us. Like, we don't have to say, oh, it was EMDR or Reiki or this or that. It's people see the change, the healing, and they're curious to know, what is it about you that's so different? What has changed so much that you have become, that you are just so genuine, so vulnerable, so well-spoken, so this, so that. And I feel like healing, when it's that inner transformational healing, it becomes very present on the outside too. Very
Yeah, and Crystal, we're talking about nudges, and I know you work with nutrition and Reiki, so I'm curious what you would say are nudges that people get for their healing.
Yeah, I was going to say that nudges can come in a physical form too, that it's such a tangible way for our bodies to really let us know that there's an imbalance going on. Because of course there's always that balance between the mental, the physical, and the spiritual. And that's what I love so much about S.A.G.E is that we really focus on all three of those aspects. And we have services and practitioners to kind of help in a holistic way and join together to balance all of that out. Like I said, those nudges can come in that form of an imbalance or a symptom in your body to let you know that there is an imbalance. But of course, the root cause of physical illnesses not always are a physical imbalance. It could always be a spiritual or mental imbalance that is causing these physical symptoms to kind of nudge us to pay attention. And kind of exactly with what Leanna was saying was just having that awareness, having that intuition, and really being in tune with your body and understanding or trying or to learn to understand what these messages are to bring that balance back. And yes, it is a lifelong journey.
Yeah. Just to piggyback off that for a sec, I was thinking, for anyone who's viewing and doesn't resonate with like higher powers, or if you feel like that's just not me, I don't know what these girls are talking about right now, this doesn't relate to me. Like, I hear you. I move through in and out what spirituality means to me. And sometimes healing can just look like a changing of patterns, right? Mm-hmm. Behavioral patterns, thinking patterns. When we, Renee, you talked about ego. Our ego is there to protect us. Yeah, it gets a negative rap, like, oh, check your ego at the door, bro. It's like, well, yeah, I'll check it, but it's going to come with me. Like ego is there to help protect us. It's a bodily or physiological reaction that lets us know, hey, there's danger because something in our past, our experience, told us that. So it stays with us. Our ego's there to ride along with us, but at some point, sometimes our ego may be stuck in trauma mode. And once we work through trauma and our ego feels a little bit better, it feels like, hey, I don't need to be so on edge. I don't need to put you in flight or freeze mode. you are able to speak to your ego and say, hey, the way I react or just being reactive isn't working for me. So you work on changing your pattern of reactivity, which is more of, hey, this used to be my old pattern and I'm now implementing a new pattern, whatever that looks like for you. And when it works and you're able to navigate through life in a healthier way, in a way that you feel is best, that's also healing. And I want to make sure to touch on that because, again, healing looks so different to everyone, but we don't exclude, anyone who doesn't resonate with what we just right now typically touched on. That's what we were speaking upon. But I just want you to know that all of us, that's the holistic approach. We meet you where you are, and whatever that looks like for you, we're there to hold your hand or guide you or listen. We respect that this is your process, your journey, and we hope to meet you where you need us to meet you. And I think that's important to know.
So important. Yeah, I'm so glad you brought that up, and to talk, just touch on that, because I feel like I don't think we can talk about what does a holistic approach mean enough, because I have felt even at times I'm like, I'm not holistic enough to have founded S.A.G.E, because this is a holistic approach. And so it's good to talk about this and say, well, what does holistic even mean? Because sometimes it can look like perfection, and that's not at all what we embody that term to mean here at S.A.G.E. And so, I mean, even if we were to go through, and I don't think we have time to do that, but just what each of our own individual definition of holistic is, it would be different to each and every one of us, because what it means at its core to me is that we're trying to find out who we are as a whole person. And Sadaf, you had talked about that before. It's like getting back to who we were. Like, we were born whole, and we were born with everything that we needed. We get away from that, and then ensues the process of healing. I mean, that's one way to look at it, like this kind of timeline that we go through as humans on this earth.
Yeah, definitely. I feel like it's a timeline to not only create our whole self, but also find our whole self, right? The whole person. And to answer the question, the holistic approach, I think for me would be to provide support, or to provide something that will give us the support to our mental, physical, spiritual, or just what we're going through at this time and at this moment. Who are we at this time and moment, regardless of our past, regardless of our future? What is this whole person that I am? What is it containing of, right? What has affected me so far? Was it something physical? Was it something spiritual? Was it a mixture of it all? So I think a holistic approach would be, I think, assessing just what people have been impacted by, influenced by, as far as physical, spiritual, psychological, mental aspects of a person goes. And to come in to be treated holistically is for the person to be able to assess and kind of understand those different aspects of you, and be able to treat or refer your for example, your mind, like all the how can we hack limiting beliefs with affirmations or meditation, or your body? How can we provide dietary or nutritional recommendations, and even habit change techniques? Obviously, we all want to eat healthy, but what is it about us? What is going to be that nudge that's going to help us move towards taking care of ourselves in a holistic, in a whole person way? Or it could even be a purpose. As the mind and body experience increases that clarity, we basically can even help people clarify that passion and that purpose, including how to harness financial, social, and environmental abundance just in their own lives. How do we shed old habits? That's about creation, right? That's another holistic approach. How do we create the self that is going to be able to come and deal with the situation that we're in right now. So, and how could we create action? What part of us do we need to awaken to become just us and be able to deal with just now?
Yeah, that's that awareness piece that you were speaking to, Liana, earlier too. But yeah, there's a lot there for us to do, right? That
Yeah.
journey can start to feel a little bit long. I know we've got just a few minutes left. I had, when I was kind of preparing a little bit for what we were going to do tonight, this quote really touched me. I just wanted to say it out loud and just see what you guys think of it, or what your response was to it. Because it's really having to do with this process of healing, and we're all on that path. Like, even if we're the ones that are the healers, right? We're the ones that are assisting people. We've chosen this work because it is so important to us, all of us. So this quote says, "You never really forget the ones who touched your heart, regardless whether it's the ones who broke it or healed it." And so just that idea of all, I mean, it made me think back even to, like, high school years, like, my heart got broken, or even earlier than that, my heart got broken, all these things, that also was, because you get broken in those places where then that can become your strength. So I don't know, what did you guys think of that as I said that quote?
I think of like triggers, and how a lot of, with my clients especially, talking about how triggers today might not be about what's happening today. It might be about, like you were saying, maybe that breakup from high school, or maybe some childhood attachment, like with our primary caregiver. So these things that we may have put in the back of our mind for our whole, until we were triggered, they may have been hidden, and then we get triggered, and it's not maybe about, if somebody says something that hurts our feelings, it might not be about that comment entirely, but it's about these patterns that led up to us feeling sensitive or reactive to this comment. So we really we store a lot of things in our brain, and we don't always have access to everything. So I think just we have there's a lot in there that we might not be in tune to. So that was the first thing that came to my mind. Just,
Renee, when you say triggers, I was thinking broken, like when we think that we're broken, and because of heartbreak, right? Because of even, just life, there's parts of us that we feel like maybe at a certain time we've gone through enough experiences, we've experienced enough, the triggers keep coming, the trauma's there, and we think we might be broken. And, it's more about when we think, and I'm tying this back into like the holistic approach, is you can come in thinking that you're broken, and the holistic approach, either the therapist with the client, or even the client thinking, how do I maneuver through a more holistic approach to life, is even acknowledging that you're not broken, you're learning and you're experimenting. You just maybe haven't spent enough time observing your behaviors that have come from the past, when you're reenacting what the familiar is, and learning what those traits are, and understanding that those reasons why we've experienced what we experience has helped us and shaped us to who we are. And bringing that, again, awareness, bringing the whole person, like we were broken into pieces, and now we are learning how to bring those pieces back in and create a wholeness so that we can move forward.
Yeah. I was thinking with the word healing, that reminded me in the beginning, just healing doesn't mean that you're broken. Healing doesn't mean that you're sick. It doesn't mean, it's just exactly what you said. It's, just kind of maybe relearning, or so I think there's so much more about the word healing that we could talk about for sure, but
forever.
Yeah.
How we get stronger.
And kind of at the beginning too, Emily, I think you asked about like being healers. What does that mean for us? And I think it's just like working on ourselves and being that example, and what we're choosing to do in our day-to-day life, and just being able to be full and be balanced, to be able to help others kind of balance themselves and see it for themselves too.
Yeah, I love that you brought that point up here at the end too, because it's, even just like I'm thinking of your class, right? And how you really
That's
live
what I was thinking.
what you talk about, and how that's such a pillar of strength and support for me in my work that I'm doing. And it's just like this back and forth, and this, if we create these webs that connect us, right? That's the community piece.
Yes.
That's such a big part of what we're trying to do is like depend on each other. We don't have to do it alone. We don't have to
Right.
suffer in silence and deal with all those nudges by ourselves. So I'm so grateful to all of you for showing up tonight to have a little SAGE chat. Thank you so much for coming on here. And we'll see when we can do this again. It's fun to chat.
Good to see
Yeah.
everyone.
Thank you, ladies.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye, ladies.
Thank you for spending some of your time today with us at S.A.G.E Holistic Health and Wellness Center. If you like what we're all about, please consider supporting our nonprofit organization by making a tax-deductible donation. To do this, you can go to our website at www.sagewellnessctr.org and click on Donate in the upper right-hand corner. We look forward to spending some time again with you real soon. Take good care.